So I had pretty busy work week. For those that don't know, I work in hospice, a hospice social worker, and some of my favorite people to get to know are people with Alzheimer's dementia or vascular dementia or other types of dementia, but um, and some of the reason why is because of how people's minds change as a result of a disease process or what have you, right? So there's a situation in which is involved and it's fundamentally changing the way they experience the world around them. um, and it often makes me wonder about what is real, what is reality. um, do we really experience things in their actuality? The question, because we all carry our senses around, right? We carry eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. We carry those things around, and they inform us about what's going on in and around our world, and they inform us about what to avoid and what to embrace. Um, and on top of that, we come from uh, informed cultures that um, also explain the world around us and how that's to be perceived, right? So our informed culture of wherever we come from is telling us, you know, this is how this group sees it, and we move from there. We move from there. We move out of there. So I have been uh, working really hard at understanding myself. I think that I always inevitably come back to this question of who am I? What am I? What is this that's experiencing? It's not an easy question, and it's not something that I'm necessarily going to figure I have an answer for. And that's probably part of the problem, I would say, is that there's an answer for it, that there's an answer for our lives. That if I come to a church, a temple, someone's going to say something, and that's it. I got it. I was given a text this morning by my partner Kim, and she texted me about things coming together and falling away, coming together, falling away, coming together, falling away. And I sat with that a little bit. I kind of reflected on it. And that's the fundamental nature of things. That's the Dharma. It's the law. It's how things are. We come together and we fall away. Our narrative in our lives come together and it falls away. And then within that narrative, within that pages of that book, things are always coming together and falling away. Who we think we are is coming together and falling away at every day of our lives. Our cultural group, who we identify with, who we are brought up, who raised us, these things, these wonderful people in our lives will also define who we are. And we of them. This is a two-way street, right? Because we're interconnected. We can't help but do that, right? It's part of the experience. It's defining our surroundings. A fundamental crisis can happen is when we identify so strongly with what is said of who we are. And I've experienced this personally. This is why I'm saying it. Is that what people assume you to be and expect you to be, and you follow that guiding principle, because we're in this cultural network and things are defined. And when we fall into that totality, it's hard to grow. It's hard to move away from that because it is so defining. And when we start to grow and kind of branch out, it's a real challenge because sometimes it really questions ourselves. We end up questioning, is this really me or is this not me? Because everybody might be telling me, no, you got to do it this way. And then if I kind of branch out and that kind of resonates with me and that's okay, is that the truth? Or is it that I'm kind of bucking the system a little bit, right? Which always goes back to that fundamental question of who and what am I? What is this experience? What is going on? I don't think that people with Alzheimer's, dementia, as you know, and I don't know, but as they move along, as their diagnosis progresses, there's a point in which they might find out, yes, this is going to be happening for me, right? So their huge paradigm shift of what I thought I was, this cultural understanding of the world, is now going to be shifting. And I don't even know what will happen at the end there, right? I don't know. So our lives coming together and falling away is something to embrace and come to understand. So the Buddha talks about non-self, right? So the self is this idea. We come together with these senses. We have this idea. We have chocolate. It tastes great. I love chocolate. And who knows that tastes great? Well, I do. I know it tastes great. That's the self. I love chocolate, right? And we really get to know these things about ourselves. And we are always knowing and figuring out who this is. This is a really important understanding. You have to know yourself as you're moving through your life to then understand that there is no self. And that's a kind of it's a tricky thing. It can be tricky. But I think that, and I want to express that as you get to know yourself, that changes, right? So as you get to know that self, what you think you set up, and okay, I got it now. This is me. This is it. This is how it's going to go. And then bam, it falls away. And then you're redoing it. And then you're bringing all the pieces back together and constructing a self from that experience. You're coming together and you're putting the Lego pieces back together to create something else that I'm going to call I, right? That's going to feel fundamentally okay and good and all of that, right? And then a shift happens and the boom, that goes away. And then I'm putting pieces back together and I'm creating this I again, right? And boom. That's a good thing. That I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing because this is our life experience. And it's important to know that self. It's a place of reference to understand, to get to know self. It's contrast. We experience life through contrast. Day, night, Mondays, Fridays, right? So it's a really, really important thing to always work and looking at this yourself, this self, likes, dislikes. So this is a book from I got from Venerable Duckwan. I ordered it actually. He's known here in Michigan, and there's some reflections that I found really, really great. So he asks in the first chapter is he really kind of talks about this self that we have, this that we carry around, this persona of who we think we are or who others think we might think we are. But the questions are very simple, but they're important questions to really cultivate this idea. And the first one is, am I living my life the way I want to live it? Am I living my life the way I want to live it? What would my life look like if I could choose it to be exactly how I want it to be? So again, okay, I'm putting these pieces together. What obstacles do I see to living my life fully? And how do I describe the fears I have about living my life? And do I want to live with this fear or learn to set it aside? So get to know yourself. Really, it's okay to do, and it's going to always shift. But get to know yourself. Am I doing what it is that I feel I want to be doing? Do I feel good about myself, about the way things are going for myself? People with Alzheimer's dementia always have a glimpse of themselves, the way they knew themselves prior to being really ill. There's inevitably a way that there's a moment of time that they're, yes, I remember. And then it'll go away just as fast. That construct. It's an interesting phenomenon, this idea of self. But one of the ways that's important to find that non-self is to really understand yourself. And one way to experience that non-self, that your Buddha nature. In order to get that Buddha nature, you have to find and look at yourself. Find that out first and then drop it. It's such an adventure. It is such a it doesn't seem logical at all. What? You get to know myself and then drop it? Yeah, that's it. Your Buddha nature is there. And it's there in the falling away. In some ways, people with Alzheimer's and dementia, the way they live, they're fully in their Buddha nature, fully enlightened in a lot of ways. Because there's nothing that they're experiencing or coming up that's other than what they're perceiving. And moving from there, I guess. But anyway, so that's kind of my challenge, or how I want to encourage all of you to, as you move forward in your days, to do. Because a lot of times, I think in Buddhism, there's a lot of transcendence. We're trying to get beyond. We're trying to awaken. We're trying to become enlightened. All of these things. And that's all well and good. But it has to start from really knowing who I think I am, fundamentally. And we have to allow ourselves to dig down there. It's not all, it's not all good and it's not all bad. There's some things about myself that I'm fearful of, and some things that I'm not fearful of. It's all part of the experience. So allow yourself to embrace yourself and work on that and see that. It's okay. It's okay to do. So with that, I will give you bows and thank you for your time.